Hey everybody, welcome back. It is I, Dr. Bosky, and I have a secret. A dirty, dirty, dirty secret that I'm going to share with you. This is a bit about workflow and steps, so why don't we hop into it? So, here is part of my secret. I have essentially, I'm addicted to buying game assets. I can't help myself, especially when it comes to VFX, because I'm not really much of an artist myself. Creating art is tough, and it's a very dedicated and wonderful practice. Takes a lot of talent, right? And while I can tech art things and I can remunch things, there's a reason why I work with an artist. I work with effects folks. This is knowing my own limitations, but also not letting that keep me from being able to express myself. So one of the first things I do is I try to find out if there are proxy assets. And one of the best things about the game industry these days, especially the indie game industry, is that there are mountains of asset packs out there. A lot that are free, a lot that are relatively affordable as well. So I'm always on the hunt. So with that being said, so if you take a look here, I've got 61.8 gigs of essentially what I call source files, asset reference. So, and the problem is when I go hunting for stuff where I'm like, I want to do a new plasma rocket, like where do I start with that, right? So, also as just a pro tip for you, if you are downloading things from the internet and you don't have a license for it, put it in an unlicensed folder and do audits, because you don't want to ship games with other people's content that you don't have a license for. That's how you get in trouble. But I have a licensed folder here, right? And one of the things that I have here is I have my VFX. So I've got 6.76 gigs of VFX data, right? I've got all kinds of just particle effects like that. And now you could, essentially, I don't know, let's take a look. Let's take a look at, let's take a look at, 50 effects bundles. So I have these in single PNGs and PNG formats, so sprite sheets. And I won't get into that here, but so I can come in here and I could, open each one of these in Photoshop. Maybe if I want to level up a little bit, I could maybe open Fast Stone Image Viewer. It's free, and then essentially navigate, which is also not bad, right? I can navigate here. And I can go full screen, and I can just sort of like arrow key through looking for essentially effects that I want to use in the game, right? Now, it's not bad. That's a way to get through it, right? You can even here, if you take a look, sometimes you have GIFs. So this is Faststone's pretty good for that as well. And also, if I want to look at individual PNGs, I can essentially arrow key up and left and right to step through each of these images, because we use a lot of sprite sheet based animations. So, but this means I'm having to navigate through all of these things, right? It's like, okay, cool. Oh, look, that's cool. Let me see here. And this is too slow. Now you can do it, but it's too slow, right? The other pro tip for you is that when you have a large amount of source files, being organized in the way that you want to use your source files, not changing or making modifications inside of your source file directory. You should always have a peer source file directory. When you find things you want, you copy those over to your game directory in kind of a secondary master art assets folder. And then you start to do your tech arting from there, because you don't ever want to destroy your originals, right? Okay, so here's the real secret tip. You guys ready for this? All right. So I went looking, and I was like, I scoured the internets. And if anyone has other ideas out there, and there are a couple other tools, feel free to leave them in the comments. So there's this old school image program called IRFAN View, IRFAN View, IFRAN View. That's what I want to calling it. I opened that bad boy up, and here comes the tip. Here comes the tip. All right. So, for instance, I don't know. Let's take a look here. Let me just go. Let me see here. Let's take a look. How do I want to do this? Here, why don't we just go crazy? Here, we're gonna go crazy. So you can take 6 gigs, right? You take this, you drag and drop it over to the IFRAN View window. This brings up the IFRAN View thumbnails. and then it gives you your folder directory. It's not the most beautiful looking UI by any measure. It's got a couple other bugs, but so I'm looking at this VFX folder. You right click on it, you load thumbs from all subfolders. This is loading 6 gigs of thumbnails. It's generated on the fly. It's a little crazy, right? So here's the other cool thing. Now, if you arrow key through, so here is a GIF for basically waterfall animation, right? So I'm just arrow keying through. This is letting me frame step between each of the thumbs. So here I'm like, oh, cool. So now, so here's essentially, and when, you know, if you're looking at, these are essentially large sprite sheets. And then here's a preview of it, right, of the individual frames. So here's some water splashes, right? And you know, not everything is gonna be great, but look at this. I am rapidly previewing through 6 gigs of visual effects on frame by frame basis and also sprite sheets, right? And one of my processes is to essentially go through and preview these, because sometimes it starts with an idea like, oh, I want this boss to have a crazy heart attack, or I want heart attack, a coral, massive cardiac arrest. And sometimes, you know, you wind up looking for things, and so you can frame step through these and really get a sense for the different types of effects at your fingertips. And so you find the one you're looking for, and you're like, oh, let me take a look at these here, and then you can essentially right click, and you can open it with an external editor. You can copy these all out if you wanted to. For instance, I know that this is a frame sequence, right? You can also you get the path here for where these are located, so you can open them in Explorer. But yeah, that's it. A super sweet, very short tip. I'll leave links in the description. I hope everyone is doing fine on this fine day. Enjoy your shmup development and all your other indie game development. I'll see you next time.